So red picks up Triceratops, which actually puts us into the second stage of the game, sort of the end game period. But there's still a lot of cards out here, and the game can't end until all those cards are gone and someone's out of critters. Which isn't actually even guaranteed to happen, but it's essentially going to happen because of the competition mechanisms, etc. So here we are, and red's got to go first. They've got kind of some shared value in cherries with their two critters, but they don't have any cherries, unfortunately. Just, you know, their choices were not great. They took the only thing that was available to them that had grassland, because they had so much grassland. Obviously that thing wasn't out yet. And then other people, the choices were not overall as hard as last time, mainly because only yellow has this big line of critters that he has to like try to coordinate so that they're not stepping on each other. One of the real problems is once you get more than a couple of critters on the board, it's really tough not to trash one with the other. And also, obviously, if your critters are like this, just have nothing to do with each other, basically. He's got a shared orange there, but he's probably going to have trouble keeping that beast alive. To finish up the third, people weren't able to target things the way they were early on. You can see it's a very strange world. 3 cherries and some grasslands. This is really green's fault. He seeded cherries in a lot of places and then hit them big. Now this thing's at risk, but this thing's real happy. It's going to have a lot of dice. If he could only get a sun, but he doesn't have the counters for it, and he took, I think, 1 exchange, but he wasn't able to get what he wanted. And one of the problems with exchanging is you get random stuff. Your stuff's back in there. So you may not be getting what you want, especially if somebody's hoarding what you want. And you may not be able to affect the change that you need. So sometimes what people start doing, and what we saw in the last couple of rounds, was a lot of seeding and probing and stuff like that. And this is what we ended up out of it, which is a very strange environment. Very fruity environment. All right, well, now people are going to try to make their things live. They don't have anything except what they're holding in their hands. Another time around, some of that cherry dominance is gone, but we're only at 3 environments. This one, actually, green kept putting more cherries into. They tied with the fish. There's another piece of garbage kicking around in there. He's got a real problem. He'd like that orange to come up, but he doesn't have the pieces to help influence that. This thing is probably going to go extinct. One more time around. Interesting and kind of painful situation. Red knows what these things are. He's got 2 cherries, 2 fish, and a sun. Now, if he played 2 suns in here, they would go up and then immediately be flushed. So he doesn't want to do that, even though that would solve this guy. It would help this guy actually. It would actually get him a triple, but he wouldn't get any score off of it, or any strength off of it. Alternatively, I could throw a fish in there, but that wouldn't last very long. I've got a chit left, which I might be able to play. I don't have much else to put into play. Those cherries I kind of like, because both my critters are kept alive by them. There's a danger to anything else. I think what I'm going to do is just throw 2 more of these in. So nobody really knows what's in here. Actually, they all do. These are these. We're still at a multiple tie. Now that gives an opportunity to this guy to try to choose what to bone in there. Had I thrown a fish in, that would weaken things. I didn't have anything else to really put it. He wants to see what he can knock loose. So he's throwing stuff in here. Probably forgot what's here. Let's see what we get. First, the cherries go up, and they're swamped right away. And then we have a 3-way tie, so nothing else goes up there, which leaves things open for green. Green is interested in both sun. You'd need to put 2 in there to prevent it from swamping, though. And he would really like sun. He's got forest. He got lucky there. He managed to save that. He doesn't have anything here that is going to help him. Grasslands aren't useful to him, so he's going to throw 1 of them in. Is there anything he wants to kind of just keep alive in there? Yeah, he's just going to discard more pieces. And that just opens this up. And there's the grasslands go up, they swamp. But then we have 2 pairs. He wasn't able to get that sun into place. And now we have kind of a final pick. I don't know if people can solve any issues that they have right now. Blue, for example, hey, I'm surviving. I'm not going to be very good, so somebody might punk me, but there isn't much I can do there. Yellow, managed to get that alive. That's still alive, barely. This is not bad at all. And then this poor thing has cherries. I'm okay. I don't really have the pieces to play with things anyway, but I'm not going to go out of my way to try to change the environment. And that finally leaves it to red. Red has cherries on both their critters. Could I do something? Yeah, I could play with that mess, but again, I'm probably worth keeping my 5 points. So we'll count the instances on the critters and see what the values are and what fights what. No real monsters out there. Triceratops, I think, is going to go beat up on the yellow one. He's got more dice. He can get a point of strength from it. This one would not be able to because he's already got a 2 strength. And that wipes out the leading players, one of their slots that they hold alone right now. Nothing can ever walk into these. The only time that this will have any issues is once it actually gets into that final scoring column. Unfortunately for red, Triceratops was beaten twice in a row and is gone, strengthening that kitty cat there. What does that leave us with? That puts us to yellow. Yellow has Iguanodon, who's quite powerful and could be a killing critter if I have something I want to wipe out. Other possibilities, I don't really care as much about this because red's already gone. Now they could spend their chip to attack, but that seems pretty pointless with something that weak. Green's got pretty decent points. It might be worth trying to schwack that thing, although I'm going to be pushing that. It's going to move from the 13 to the 10 when these guys move forward, and then it's going to fall off the board when these guys go, because we're moving 2 spaces this time. So what's going to happen is this is going to go to here. That pushes him. And then these 2, if they're both alive, both go into here and here, pushing this guy off the map, and Iguanodon will be up here. So part of what I'm worried about is maybe I am worried about Ankylosaurus here, which is going to take one of my spaces. Otherwise, I'll hold these 2 spaces. Instead, I'll be holding these 2. There's a reason to hit the red one. On the other hand, there's a reason to hit the green or the blue in order to prevent attacks from those critters. They might pick off, especially this thing, might pick off my poor cat or my Brachiosaurus. I don't know. I think it's better to keep a continuous stream going, so I'm going to shoot at this with my iguana. The dodo got lucky and survived the attack, which means now we're on blue. Blue doesn't want to attack anything from a theoretical point of view because they're, weaker than everything else, but here's the problem. Blue's doing crappy. They can score more points if they kill one of these things off. They can weaken the leader if they kill that off. They're going to take a chance at it even though their odds are low. After quite a few sets of die rolls, I think I rolled like 5 sets of that to get my 2 successes, they actually won completely. Wiped it out. And that's pretty impressive. Well worth doing, it turned out. That puts us on green. Green has a critter they can't attack with, but then they have this Critosaurus who's kind of cool. The Critosaurus can score them more points if they attack the Homo sapiens. Other alternatives, wiping out something up here would help them in terms of survival. Green's points, you know, green's not as far behind as blue was. Having a column to themselves, they're going to pick on the poor Homo sapien. And that was the end of humanity as we know it. Okay, so this would stay here, except for Iguanodon, who pushes it up. And luckily I have these things here. And then all of these go forward one. And now we do another advance because we wiped out space. So the first of these is going to go in. Now I got to remember the order. Well, I can tell you they both have the same strength, neither suppressed. This one there's less of, so this one will go up first. So this is what we see. But then this one goes, and that ditches that off the board into its own little extinction. So no bonus points for the Critosaurus. And that's why you want to wipe out things that are going to push you forward. And this go forward. And we got to score points here. Now yellow has most of the points. They've got 29, 30, 31, 32 points this time. Which puts them up to 71. And they're just running away with this game. People have to try to hose them, and it's hard to do except by playing these correctly. And that's tough. It's tough to cooperate on that quite often. Red is going to get 10. If you allow communications, it could be easier, but it doesn't seem like a communications type of game. 6, 7, 8, 9 for green. And blue has nothing. And red and green are tied at 34. Yellow's got 71. We're going to reset. This gets pushed back. Yellow gets the start again. The critters go away, and people get new draws of pieces. Okay, so we're on what may well be the last turn. Everybody picked their first column. Yellow came around, picked their second column, trying to match. Now they've got a mishmash, no real focus in their chits, but they do have some restrictions as well with the cards that they already have. So they kind of want to try to match those. You can see they've got a matchup of bones going across, water, fish, whatever, trees. But a lot of different types because they have so many different critters. They may not be able to keep everything alive, obviously, but... And you can see they picked the last critter from the second deck. Now we're down to just one deck, which means nobody's got any choices. Blue is going to take this, whether they like it or not. Green gets this, whether they want it or not. And then finally red gets this thing. And, you know, that can be kind of a bone, but it is up to the players to choose, you know, how they want to exercise the pieces that come out. Now, one of the things is yellow may be targeting crushing blue, because as soon as blue is out of cards, out of critters, the game will end at the end of that turn. Now, the game could conceivably last one... they're going to move forward 2 this time, 2 more turns, but it's not going to go more than that because there are only 3 slots available, right? So somebody will be guaranteed to be gone at the end of 2 turns. But if yellow can do so with the commanding lead they have, they're going to want to try to prevent blue from existing for this turn. Whatever they have to do that. It's really unlikely that other people are going to catch up that many points. You can see yellow was at 39. They had a hell of a setup last turn, and they only made it to 71. About twice the score of anyone else, right? Over the entire game. It's unlikely anybody's going to make more than their total score at this point over the course of a turn. And yellow will probably still be able to pull some points even if they go all out on trying to keep blue off the board. There's 2 ways to do that, of course. The simple one is, hey, let's try to pick off blue critters. Well, I got a token that'll allow me to kill both of them if I've got one big monster critter out there. But the other thing is I can fiddle around with the environments and try to bone them so that when it comes to turn 5, at least one of those critters dies. We finish up here with the first round around playing with these. Yellow and blue took draws trying to prepare for later turns, but green and red played into here. And they're creating a really pathological situation here where basically people can put pieces in here to just destroy a color. So if you put a yellow in here, it'll go to the top and be destroyed. They're just really kind of making this into a grab bag. And with so many different things in there, it's kind of hard to remember which ones have pairs and which don't. Even when you play right after them, I can't remember usually. And when it does get that complicated, I don't kind of do the cheating that I do when it's fairly simple. With two environments entering into this status, it's becoming obvious that yellow may actually be able to achieve at least some of their goal here. This thing's fine with this crap up here. But if those also get flushed into non-environments, everything could get wiped out. Or if only a couple of environments are out, most of the critters could get knocked. And things are just not getting better. With only one environment really workable, and you still can't take that one over. Yellow may be playing to try to screw that one over too, because once all these elements get in there, it's very hard to cause them to do what you want anymore. Once it gets swept clean, which can happen if people start probing into them with random stuff, great, then it's back in play. But as of right now, it's going to be hard for anything to survive. And now, this is our final position. That's all we've got. That's enough to keep blue in the game. And indeed, everybody's got at least one critter in this mix still. But blue is going to lose this critter. Can they save it? I know what this is. The others are kind of chaotic. If I could put a bone in there, that would win me it. And I might be able to bring something else in. So I say I'm going to trigger it. Red may or may not want to, but yellow wants to trigger because they can bone this too. And that'll end the game if they do that. And I'll tell you this much. These kind of pathological situations happen a lot easier when I'm playing solitaire, because I'm not paying too much attention to what's going in there. They're fun to watch though, but they don't happen anywhere near as often when you're playing in an opposed game, although they do usually occur. Now what I want to do here is I want to prevent yellow from getting in there, or from being there. So I'm going to throw these two pieces in. These guys are all one of a kind, which is what blue was going to go into. And that sweeps these out. And every single animal in the game died, because there is nothing goes up. Which means there's no points, and we're stuck at this 71, 34, 34, 12 tie. And it's kind of an interesting end. It's not too common to see, but if players aren't careful at remembering what's where, it's much easier that it could happen. And if somebody's clearly playing for it, they can do a better job of creating chaos. Usually you're playing to protect your creatures. In this case, yellow was playing to try to prevent anything from happening, anything from surviving, basically. And so that's that. Definitely not as good a game solo as it is with a bunch of people sitting around the table just having, a kind of silly time, although there is some definite thought in it. I'll come back with some thoughts after I load this up.